Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Oscar Talk, episode 16, I believe. We'll have to see if that's correct. You'll see in the actual title. But most of today is going to be focused on the BAFTAs. They released their nominations, or the final little precursor thing we have before Oscar nominations next week. I'm going to be talking about that with Anthony, as always.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to talk BAFTAs this morning.
Yes, lots of fun stuff to talk about. Getting right into it, let's start off with Best Picture, which wasn't too surprising here. The five films were Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, Licorice Pizza, and The Power of the Dog. Do you think these are the top five at the Oscars too? Because I'm sensing West Side Story is going down fast.
It's interesting. I've heard the argument that West Side Story is on the rise. I think these nominations maybe indicate that it's on the fall. But the other thing too is West Side Story is it's such an American text
It is. Yeah.
that could play a factor in it. I believe West Side Story was always more popular on Broadway than the West End as well. I can't remember any notable West End productions. So it could just play a factor in the culture.
Yeah.
Just not resonating the text as strongly.
Licorice Pizza is very American too, though, I think.
That's true, but I think Paul Thomas Anderson is just a really respected
Yeah.
author, and this morning the BAFTAs were very kind to Licorice Pizza, as they should. It's a
They
great
were.
film.
Yeah.
I am. I think the biggest surprise continues to be how Don't Look Up has really been very universally accepted, and it's not, people. I think viewers of this channel know how I feel about the film. That's not what I'm taking into this. I'm just surprised that the film's so divisive and controversial. I mean, this is rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting in everywhere. It's getting a BAFTA nom for Best Picture. It's getting a SAG Ensemble nom, and it's beating out, like you said, West Side Story, a lot of these other, we thought, bigger contenders. But yeah, as far as this category goes, it's generally what I expected.
Yeah.
Dune has been hitting everywhere, which is really great for that film. I think it's definitely cementing itself as the Mad Max Fury Road of this season.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and
it's also number three, I would say, behind Belfast and Power of the Dog.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think, as I just said, I think a Mad Max route is probably expected. I think it's going to sweep technical, especially with West Side Story. Like, we'll get into it. Missing cinematography here is pretty surprising.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I don't know about Best Picture, because I do think not only for some people it might be a little inaccessible due to the genre, but I also think there is going to be on some of the voters' minds. It's like, well, he's got another movie in 2 years. We
Yeah.
may as well honor the achievement of Dune itself. But we'll see. I mean, the film is very strong. It could, as you said, it's in the number three spot. It could go all the way.
What do you think is going to win this? Power of the Dog, probably? Last year they did give it to Nomadland, and I do say a Nomadland route for Power of the Dog.
Yeah, I could see that happening, especially because I think there were a couple categories that Belfast didn't hit. Though
Mhm.
Belfast does have a home advantage.
It
Um,
does.
but of course they could also do. I believe Belfast is the best British film, so
Hmm.
they could
Split it.
split there. It should note though, despite Nomadland's win, very rarely do the Best Picture winner at the Oscars and the Best Picture winner at BAFTA
Yeah.
align. So if I think Power of the Dog is going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, that would be a tough call to make. But I do think it's possible. The only major category I think that Power of the Dog missed out on this morning was Best Film Editing. Um, so but it got in director. It got in three actors, though not Kirsten Dunst, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So
Yeah,
it did have a nice showing. It very well could.
definitely. Yeah, I would say it's between those two, which is pretty much going to be everywhere, Belfast or Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
Now Best Director got six nominations here. They always have an interesting method of picking their best directors. I believe there's two different rounds, and they pick about top eight female directors, top eight male directors, and then they vote on that.
Which also, like, this year they introduced, like, there were like two picks from like somebody, and then there was a jury selection. Like, the way they vote
Yeah,
is very different from the Academy Award, which I
very different.
keep that in mind when we're talking about what could this affect for the Academy Award nominations or possible wins there. It's a very different way of voting. we have the preferential ballot, which is its own crazy way of voting. So some of this is indicative of what could happen on Tuesday, February 8th, but some of it maybe not.
Yeah, I would tend to lean with the BAFTAs more towards relying more on their winners rather than their nominations is usually what I would lean towards. But in Best Director, our nominees were Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog, Audrey Diwan for Happening, Julia Ducournau for Teton. Oh God, I never say it wrong. Do you know how to say Hamaguchi's first name? Ryusuke?
I think it's Ryusuke.
Okay.
Hamaguchi.
Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Drive My Car, and Aleem Khan for After Love. So we got a even split of men and women there. Nice.
We got a Ducournau, which I was very happy to see.
That's the best part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. Glad she's getting recognition somewhere. And also Hamaguchi definitely could take an Oscar spot still.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would argue that spot now, if he's going to take a spot, he's taking Brana's spot.
Yeah.
I think Brana is it.
Yeah. I would lean towards that too. Do you think Jane Campion's probably going to win this?
Oh, she'll definitely win this. I think she's really just like making awards season her own. As she's a titan of the industry, such a trendsetter, and The Piano, of course, was a very well regarded film back in its day, and I think it's her time.
It is.
So yeah, very very happy. This category is very very fun to see.
It is indeed. No Denis, which is upsetting, but
that was the one surprise. So.
Yeah, win some and lose some. Best Actor. So I believe 6 in these acting categories. So we have Adil Akhtar for Ali and Ava, Mahershala Ali for Swan Song, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up, Stephen Graham for Boiling Point, and Will Smith for King Richard. They have once again never nominated Denzel Washington. I don't know what's going on with them. They just he must.
Even with Shakespeare, he can't get a nomination. That's insane.
He did something to that jury or something. They just don't like him.
I guess.
Vendetta. But other than that, I'd say there's a good amount of surprises here. The good mix between the British nominations and American ones. I'd say also tragically no Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, he was the big loss.
I was predicting him to win the Oscar. I don't think I'm going to be doing that anymore. So I would say it's between Benedict and Will Smith.
Yeah, which the two of them have gotten in everywhere, which really shows that I think if it was going to be a race, that would probably be the race. But I think Will Smith is really he's making award season his own. However, again, we are about, just under 2 months from the show. Anything can happen. And especially when Will Smith is going to potentially win a lot of these awards, people may look at him like a Glenn Close, because what happened with Glenn Close was just people voted Olivia Colman because they thought Glenn Close was taken care of. They're like, I'm just going to have fun with this one. And so if people feel that Will Smith is so guaranteed and they start voting their passion, and that's either Cumberbatch or Garfield at the Oscars, who I guarantee will get nominated there.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think Will Smith is Teflon. I keep saying that. I don't think anybody is guaranteed.
Ariana DeBose, I think, is very close to guaranteed.
He's getting closer, but at the same time, I don't think anything's a lock, which is really exciting for this award season.
Yeah. Maybe Campion.
Campion. I would argue. Campion, I would argue, is probably your only lock, but at the same time, it is. The Power of the Dog has been a very let's see how it shows up, because if it misses like Kirsten Dunst, like the BAFTAs did on Tuesday, it could, we're seeing this with Kristen Stewart, which maybe this is a nice segue to Best Actress.
Tragic.
There's a lot of things about these smaller, more critical darlings that we just have to see how they're going to hit the mainstream. I think Power of the Dog will do well, and you're probably right that Jane Campion is a lock, but anything's possible.
Still got time.
a little bit more divisive.
Yeah, quickly before we do go on to Best Actress, Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is a bit of a surprise here. There is the Hulk, so is Mahershala Ali, but I don't think he's contending for that fifth spot in Best Actor, which is still open. I mean, and Peter Dinklage missed here, which does hurt his chances. Do you think who's getting that spot for you? Is it still Javier?
It's still a Javier Bardem. I think being Ricardo's, I am predicting it for a Best Picture nomination. I think Nicole Kidman's going to get in. And there are a couple other potential nominations for the film. I mean, Best Supporting Actor is so crazy. I saw Dan Murrell, who I'm a big fan of, did his Oscar predictions. He's predicting J.K. Simmons, and I don't think that's a crazy nomination because you look at something like Sam Rockwell for Vice. Nobody was really predicting that performance, but you know, he's in the club, and he put in some good work there in Being the Ricardos. So I just think Being the Ricardos is a more overall player than any of these single noms. And Leonardo DiCaprio, if we don't look up, I
think he's possible.
He would probably be my 6. I would probably have him over Peter Dinklage. But I still don't think that just doesn't feel like the type of performance that gets nominated. It very much feels like an ensemble, but like none of them are standing out. You know, he gets that one scene where he yells, but other than that, it's you know. And again, I'm not a big fan of the film. He was fine, but yeah, I think you're always competing against your past nominations as well. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio continues to do great work. I think many people just maybe expect more out of him, and that could be like, it's the Tom Hanks thing where like Tom Hanks is great, but for 20 years, like in between, I think Castaway and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, like he was giving great work, but it wasn't like flooring you. It was like, oh, here's another great Tom Hanks performance.
He deserved it for Captain Phillips, though.
He was good, but again, when you're always good, it's hard to stand among the pack. Except if you're in like House of Gucci where you're putting on an accent and there's no way not to stand out. So
yeah, as with certain actors. I do also think since that movie is very strong, he's the best shot of them getting an acting nomination in there. I think it's possible. I could also see Peter Dinklage going the Andra Day route of Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and then Oscar. But she also won the Globe, so
but Peter Dinklage didn't win the Globe, did he?
No, he didn't. No.
Yeah, I just nobody's talking about Peter Dinklage. The only thing that we've talked about Peter Dinklage is for the Snow White controversy, which I guarantee you most people may not have even known he was doing press for a movie when he said that claim. Yeah.
They've mishandled the film's release. It was supposed to come out in December, then January. Now it's February.
It's coming out post nomination, which if he got nominated maybe is a good way, but he's not. I don't see a first-time nominee having this sort of narrative he's not a Willem Dafoe where at Eternity's Gate where nobody's talking about him and then he just gets it. Because I think you got to be in the club for that to happen. And as wonderful he is, and as much of he's in the Emmys club, I don't think he's in the Oscars club. And it's a musical. I think a lot of people maybe are musicaled out. So I don't know how many people. It just feels like a low priority screener. So I would definitely put more credence in the DiCaprio nom or the Bardem nod, which I'm leaning the latter rather than the former.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be the first year if Dinklage isn't nominated, because I think he's the only person who hasn't been nominated who's in contention, really. It's going to be the first year in like 20 years that all of the actors have been nominated before. So records are meant to be broken. Now into Best Actress, where interesting all around, as it has been the whole season. We have Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, Alana Haim, Licorice Pizza, Amelia Jones, Coda, Renata Rensby for Worst Person in the World, Joanna Scanlon, After Love, and Tessa Thompson, Passing, which I'm the most happy about. She's very deserving. No Stewart, no Kidman, no Coleman is the biggest one. I don't think she can win the Oscar anymore.
Well, so Coleman missed out for The Father as well.
Yeah.
So
she did.
You know, she could still, granted, she didn't win for The Father, but I'm just saying, I think, especially in this year, in this category, anything's possible. But to be honest, I do think that this category has seemed so crazy because so many people thought that Kristen Stewart was the front runner, and that's thrown them. It's almost as if in 2018 we all bought into Toni Collette being the front runner, and we just had to become disillusioned,
which
and
was tragic. Yes,
for the fact that it wasn't happening. Yeah, I predicted that she was not going to miss, or she was going to miss here, because I just felt that with the BAFTAs, it was just too close to home. They probably didn't want to honor this performance. I am happy with some of the picks they did make in this category, though. Lady Gaga, though, I mean, she may end up being your front runner. I do think
she's the only person with all the precursors out of all the actresses. Just her.
Yeah, which is surprising.
Yeah. I think it's her versus Kidman, probably.
Yeah, and we've been talking about how we have 4, potentially 5 biopics in the running here.
Yeah.
In Best Actress, so they're going to have to differentiate themselves, and I'm surprised that Lady Gaga has been the one to differentiate herself. That being said, House of Gucci is the most different from the pack for many reasons.
It is. Yeah.
So maybe that's helping her. The other thing too is I do think that she is the best part of the movie, and you kind of, whenever you watch her, you do kind of like, oh my God, thank you, Lady Gaga's on screen. So maybe that's helping her. Maybe just how crazy and bad the rest of the movie is, whenever she comes on screen, you're reminded of how good she is. Maybe that's what's helping her. I mean, also, I do think there's a Cher arc too. Like, you were nominated first, and now your second nomination, you're going to win.
Yeah. I do think a lot of these industry people like the movie a lot more than like the critics or like film Twitter bubble do. So I do think that's a factor. I don't think the BAFTAs liked it as much as like say the Golden Globes or SAG, because it did underperform still overall, I would say. But she's like the one consistent thing for the movie, no matter what. Probably her in makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see her winning. Definitely. I think she's also along with Jessica Chastain. She's campaigning the most. She's pushing for it.
Yeah. She knows how to sell herself. She knows she's a very good performer, and people almost think this is too much, but she really cares about what she's doing. I mean, just look at her Oscar speech for Best Original Song for Shallow, which helps her,
You can feel the commitment with her, and actors especially do really like commitment.
They love commitment. And to quote my favorite movie of all time, La La Land, people love what other people are passionate about, and she is passionate about herself, which is good. When you're in this award season, if you want to win, you got to be passionate about yourself. You got to sell yourself. You got to be proud of your work. So, and she's doing that more than anybody else. We've been all over the place. We thought Kidman, then Coleman, then Gaga, then Stewart. So now I am interested in this. Do you still have faith in Chastain getting that 5th spot?
I wouldn't.
Do you still have faith in Stewart getting the 5th spot?
I would have Stewart at 5th. I would have Chastain at 4th. I think Stewart is the one who's on the outskirts. I do think the person who could kick her out is Alana Haim, because she did do very. I do think she was probably one of the jury picks, though. I don't think she was probably one of the overall voter picks.
It wasn't one of the top 2. Yeah. I don't think.
But I think we do need. If Being the Ricardos doesn't get into picture, we do still need that one actress whose film is in Best Picture, because that hasn't happened in 20 years also, that someone nominated in Best Actress, none of their films are in Best Picture. So I could see that happening. I'm still going to stick with Stewart for now, but I'm not feeling very confident about it.
Yeah, I just wonder, have we been tricking ourselves? Have we been telling ourselves that this is going to happen? And it's just not going to, because I could see it happen. Even somebody like Jennifer Lopez, who had some of the precursors for Hustlers, very different performance.
Very different, yes.
But just, I don't know. It's the more I think about it, I'm like, well, Lana Haim makes sense, because Licorice Pizza.
She does.
Overperforming. I think Best Director, it's going to get nominated. I think Best Original Screenplay, I think it could win that.
Best Supporting Actor.
Best Supporting Actor, exactly. So it's like Alana Haim makes sense, especially because out of all of these Best Actress contenders, we really don't have an ingenue. I mean, Kristen Stewart kind of, but we've known her for 15 years?
A while, yeah.
That's why it's like, I feel like Alana Haim's nomination makes sense. So it's like, well, do I kick out Kristen Stewart or Jessica Chastain? it's because I
It's
think the other
tricky.
three are guaranteed at this point. So it's
The other
interesting.
three, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think more people saw and probably liked Eyes of Tammy Faye than people saw and liked Spencer, at least amongst the voters.
I think Isa Tammy Faye is an easier film to digest and be impressed by, and I do
It's
think
a
it's a
more
worthy nomination. You watch that movie, and the two of them, Andrew Garfield
really good
included, they never make a mockery of the people they're impersonating, which is a hard feat to do with all the
for these
makeup.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely she would definitely be a worthy nomination, as with Kristen Stewart, of course. It's just you're right. Which one are they actually going to favor more? I'm kind of in agreement that I do think Stewart is probably the harder movie to swallow.
Yeah, it's when we look at the kind of biopics they like the more traditional kind. And when you look at those two, they're both biopics. One is very much more the traditional Oscar biopic than the other.
Yeah, and it
So
could be just they don't think Kristen Stewart's in the club yet, which would be
yeah,
disappointing. But and this is different from BAFTA, of course, because again, as we detailed, the BAFTA thing is probably just it's too close to home. But for the in predicting the Oscars, which we will do one more episode where we do our predictions,
yes,
um,
yes.
and before we go live talking about the nominee when the announcement happens,
Next week it's coming up.
next week it's coming up. But so yeah, it could just be they don't like she's not in the club. Like I honestly, her performance in Spencer very much is starting to ring true as a Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler. Um,
Yeah,
and I just think that, or a David Oyelowo in Selma, like I just feel like that narrative seems to be getting clearer and clearer every day. I hope I'm wrong.
me too. Me too. Agreed. In terms of winning here, any clue? Because I would have said Olivia Colman originally. Because usually who wins here, almost like at least in the past few years, is almost always who wins at the Oscars.
Did
They,
Francis win here?
she did. Frances won. Renee won. Frances won in 2017. Olivia Colman won here. I
I
forget.
mean,
I
I could
think.
just see something crazy. I could see like a Renata Renzi win here.
Yeah,
But I could see Lady
possible.
Gaga win here. The BAFTAs are, I think, very hard to predict because of the difference in the way they vote and their different sensibilities, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't even know who I would go with. I would maybe just say I don't know if I'd say Lady Gaga. I think that's probably too far.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Also,
I have no
Penelope
clue.
Cruz, unfortunately, is not happening. And I think people need to,
Sad.
that's not going to be your surprise on Tuesday morning. It's going
No,
to
I
be a
honestly
lot
think
behind, if anything.
Tessa Thompson is probably higher up than Cruz, I
And
would say,
Cruz, yeah. Yeah.
which I'm
Just
happy about.
unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And don't give me the Antonio Banderas nomination from 2 years ago for Pain and Glory.
That had so much more buzz.
And had so much more buzz. And Pain and Glory was the second contender to Parasite. It was the Cold War to Roma. Like it was
Hmm.
like the Parallel Mothers is like the only nomination it could get outside of Best Actress is Best Original Score, and even that's probably not going to happen. So
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately, this performance is just it's Penelope Cruz wasn't, I think, even on the long list for
She
BAFTA,
wasn't. No.
right?
Yeah.
But
There's only
like,
one foreign performance that was, and that
yeah,
would be the one who was nominated, Renata Rensby.
yes. So it's just if you want to predict something that's not Coleman, Kidman, Gaga, Chastain, and Stewart, it's Haim. I don't see anybody else like Zegler,
Yeah.
no, Cruz, no, Halle Berry or Jennifer Hudson, no. It's
No.
Haim or Stewart.
Or Thompson. That's not actually going to happen, but I hope I can dream. Speaking of dreams, and Best Supporting Actor, a dream did come true because Mike Faist from West Side Story was nominated, deservedly so.
And Woody Norman for Come On,
And
Come On.
yes, along with Woody Norman from Come On, Kieran Hines from Belfast, Troy Kotzer from Coda, Jesse Plemons, Power of the Dog, and Cody Smith McPhee, Power of the Dog. Double Power of the Dog
Good
crew there.
category.
It's very good. That's a tasteful category. No Leto, only one Belfast boy, which I would still be fine with getting rid of him, but that's okay.
Get rid of him and put in Bradley Cooper, and I think this
Yeah,
is a quality category.
very good category.
Yeah.
Lots. Do you think Jesse Plemons can carry over to the Oscars? I see lots of people predicting that.
The issue I think with Jesse Plemons is, and I think this is a very good choice within the film, but he disappears for the second half, and I don't think he has the same presence that, let's say, Mahershala Ali has in Moonlight, where after he's only in the first section of 3, and you feel his presence in the second 2. I don't think you feel that way with Jesse Plemons. When Jesse Plemons leaves the movie about halfway through, and then you spend more time with Cody Smith-McPhee and Cumberbatch and Dunst, you kind of you're like, oh yeah, where Plemons go? Like, it's not like, where did Jesse Plemons go? So that's what I think. I don't necessarily see him getting in because of that and the way the movie ends, but he is deserving. And if the movie, you know, it could be a Lakeith Stanfield where just they like the movie and they're going to throw him in there. Especially because, you know, it's funny, if we've been predicting, we thought that there'd be 2 Belfast boys, maybe there are 2 Power boys. That's maybe possible. And that was the swerve.
That's probably the best shot at a double nomination now, because I don't think Dorothy's going to happen. Yeah. How did this change your Oscar predictions? I think I've always had Mike Faced in my 5 just because I'm willing it, but I'm going to keep him in there. I think that's going to happen. Yeah,
it was great to see him this morning, but this category has not changed my Oscar 5. I still see it, even though they were high on Licorice Pizza, so I'm surprised Bradley Cooper didn't get in. I still see Bradley Cooper getting in, along with Kieran Hines, Jared Leto, and Cody Smith-McPhee, and one other. Did I say 5?
Troy
Or was that 4?
Troy
Kotsur, thank you. Yeah, I think that's the 5. Kieran Hines being, you know, the one that I could see maybe that's a Plemons spot, but I think he's gonna get in. I think there will be an acting representative for Belfast in this category, despite you know, the 2 duking it out.
Agreed. If I were to kick one out, that is the 5 that I've had for a while, I would replace Leto and put in Face, which is what I have right now, which is probably more hoping rather than reality. But you know,
listen, my mom watched House of Gucci, and she was so, like, she thought it was like terrible, like she would not nominate it for anything. But she was like, Jared Leto, man. Like, she was telling me how much she enjoyed his performance, despite the fact he knows it's bad. But I don't think Oscar voters may have that distinction. They just may be, I enjoyed him, nominate him. Like, they may not it's like the way we separate certain things. Like, when I, you know, go see something like Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I'm like, I'm not grading this on the Godfather scale, you know?
Yeah.
But some people may just be like, House of Gucci, I enjoyed it. I don't care how good or bad the movie is. I had a great time. Jared Leto gets nominated. I think that's a likely sequence of events.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I watched that they're doing a lot of those actors on actors right now. Been watching them. They did Oscar Isaac and Jared Leto yesterday, and it was just so funny when he was like talking about, like, so seriously, like the craft of his acting and what he did to prepare for this. And then they cut to a clip of it, and it's like him speaking like Mario, and it's like, oh my god, the contrast there.
I mean, I will give it, as much as I think Lady Gaga is great, because she really, you know, she knows when to be camp, like in the sex scene, but then she's also very, you know, she knows how to be nuanced, but she knows how to be broad. You know,
she knew the movie she was in. No one else.
She knew the movie she was in. Jared Leto is almost the complete, like, opposite of that, where he doesn't know what movie he's in, but somehow he still fits. Where I think the rest of them are just lost. So it's like you have two ends of the spectrum. One person knows the movies they're in, the other person does not, but they somehow both fit. It's crazy. I would not nominate really either of them, especially Jared Leto. But listen, if he gets in there, and I think he will, it's not going to be a shocker.
Yeah, I'm fine with Gaga being nominated, even though as you'll see in our upcoming thing, we wouldn't personally nominate her, but it's not like. It's not something that upsets me, because I think she's really the only good part of that movie.
And I love Lady Gaga. So, and listen, this is Jared Leto's nomination for this is a much better possibility than the Little Things nomination that he was maybe going to get last year. So, I mean, we can count our blessings that didn't happen.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're kind of equally terrible, but yeah.
Oh. At least he smile with House of Gucci.
Yeah, he'll get a Razzie nomination also, at least. So. We'll have that to console us. Now on to Best Supporting Actress. Our 6 nominees here were Katrina Balfe, Belfast, Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Anne Dowd for Mass, Ingenue Ellis, King Richard, and Ruth Negga for passing. Some notable snubs here. No Kirsten Dunst. Who else is missing? No Kirsten
Honestly,
Dunst.
I think
Pretty
she's
much
the one.
everyone else is there. Yeah, she's the only one
Who else is
who's
there?
missing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hooray for Ann Dowd. Congratulations.
Yes.
She had a very nice congratulatory message.
She's so wholesome. I love her.
She's great. Which is great because, she's probably most known now for playing one of the most despicable people ever on The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. That's how you know she's a good actress.
Yeah, listen. I know some people are like, oh, could she now get in?
No. That 5 is pretty locked.
That other 5 is locked. And even so, I think Dunst will be in that 5. So that means that only 4 of the BAFTA nominees are going to get nominated. Not my lot, right?
Dunst is the 5th spot, yeah.
Because who besides...
I wouldn't rank her 5th, but...
Ann Dowd, and then who was the other one that they nominated?
Ann Dowd and Jessie Buckley probably won't.
Jessie Buckley, who I would nominate in a heartbeat, as I believe I pushed for in our...
Hint, it hasn't released yet, but yeah.
But yeah, I don't... Listen, anything can happen, but I don't see it happening. And I do think Dunst will be in there. I was quite shocked that she didn't get nominated. I don't...
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah,
I know some people are wary about Ingenue Ellis maybe missing because of the SAG snub. I would still have her getting in there, but I do think her and Balfe are probably honestly the 2 weakest in there, in my opinion.
In terms of possibility to get in?
A possibility to get, snubbed. I would have them probably more likely to be snubbed than, say, Ariane DeBose, who's locked in. I think Ruth Negga's pretty locked, too.
Negga's really done a nice job with that. Possibly. I think Ingenue Ellis is a Regina King type of snub. I think it's it's shocking because you expected her, but I don't think it doesn't matter going forward.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yeah, the other thing too is I don't think that my narrative for thinking I still think Kirsten Dunst could win. I don't think this has interrupted that thought because she missed BAFTA.
Possibly. Who do you think's going to win here? Ariana DeBose.
Yeah.
I would say it lines up most of the times. Yeah. That's what I would say. Same with, we didn't do supporting actor, I guess, which I guess would be if you're on the Cody Smith McPhee train, but I'll say Troy Kotzer because I'm on that train.
I'll keep to my Cody train.
Yeah, the Cody train. It's quite the train. It's a popular train. Okay, so those are the supporting ones. Best original screenplay. Really nothing too crazy here. Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza. That's your Oscar 5.
Oh, we completely glossed over something I wanted to talk about. Sorry. Amelia Jones got a nomination here.
She did.
Coda,
and then lead actress.
We didn't mention her when we were saying the possible 6 contenders because she completely flew out of my mind.
That is possible.
What do you think? What do you think about the possibility that Chastain and Stewart miss and Jones and Heim get in?
I don't know if they're gonna have 2 ingenues getting in.
They're both in here.
I mean, they don't think that way when they vote, though. It's not like they're thinking oh, I'm only gonna let one young person in there. At least I don't think they do. So I think it's possible. She would definitely be probably my 7 or 8. So yeah, I think if there's going to be a snub, there's always surprises. She's one of the possibilities. I wouldn't have her right now. I would love it though, because I really liked her performance.
Yeah, because we always talk about the movie that's going to make you cry, and that's usually one that does very well. King's Speech, Green Book to a certain extent. The movies that make you cry do very well. And not only does Coda make you cry, but I think she is as responsible for that movie that as Troy Kotzer is, and as Marlee Matlin is, who I also think could potentially surprise in Best Supporting Actress, maybe taking a Catriona Balfe or a Ruth Negga or an Ingenue Ellis spot. So I could see Coda overperform in acting categories. I just want to throw that out there because we completely flew over her. And
we did miss that.
Yeah, with this BAFTA nom, I'm maybe she has a chance.
It's definitely possible, definitely. But anything with original screenplay, those 5, that's the Oscar 5, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it's really going to be a fight of who is more deserving, Brana or Anderson. And I think the more
It's
Licorice
going to be
Pizza
Brana.
is on the rise, I think he could, because Paul Thomas Anderson has 8 nominations and 0 wins.
He does.
So maybe Brana wins the
So does
BAFTA
Glenn
and
Close.
Anderson wins the Oscar.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I still just think, especially here, because Belfast is, I mean, Licorice Pizza is much more American. Belfast is very European, so I would lean Brana here and
yeah.
at the Oscars.
So I mean, I argued that in the past. I don't know. I just Licorice Pizza seems to be on the rise in a way that I wasn't expecting. Where Belfast, I don't think is necessarily on the fall, but I think has the potential to fall. I don't think it can rise. I think it can only fall. So
Yeah,
that's
I
why.
think it's already fallen a little. I don't know
Yeah,
how much further it could fall per se.
like it feels like Licorice Pizza is the parasite to Brana's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I would honestly compare Licorice Pizza's screenplay to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though, with a little controversy. Old Hollywood, very American.
Oh, yeah, the
So,
texts themselves are very similar, but in terms of their
yeah,
awards trajectory, I liken them to different nominees.
true, true. Best adapted screenplay, we've got Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and Power of the Dog. Notable snub here would be West Side Story. Um, yeah, Drive My Car takes a spot. Do you think that's gonna happen at the Oscars or no?
No, I think the way the Academy votes is unfortunate, but they will they're like, they don't see it as like a real movie to be in contention with the other awards. That's why
They probably
Paris,
don't even think of it
yeah,
when
they
they
don't.
think of originals or adapted screenplay.
And the thing
Um,
about, I think, you can tell I watch a lot of these award shows, but I think Jeff Snyder said this on For Your Consideration. He was talking about like the Parasite benefited from being a deeply entertaining film.
it did.
Drive My Car is not that
It's three
type of movie.
hours.
It's 3 hours. It's very
Contemplative.
contemplative. I haven't seen it yet. I'm hoping just
I want to
please
see
put
it.
it in a theater near me. And I'm in California,
Yeah,
so I don't know where they are,
it's nowhere.
where these theaters are. But I think, listen, that's what benefited Parasite. I don't Drive My Car. The only other nomination I think it could pick up is a surprise in director, but that's it. I don't think screenplay. I think West Side Story will get in there because Tony Kushner is also a very well-respected person within the industry.
Yeah, agreed. And winning here, The Power of the Dog, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Best casting: Boiling Point, Dune, The Hand of God, King Richard, and West Side Story. Good all around. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have
Only
much
one
else
in
to add.
common with the SAG ensemble, um,
King
which,
Richard.
yeah, being King Richard. And as I've said, I think that the casting directors should win alongside the ensembles at SAG. I'm glad they have a casting award here at BAFTAs.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about this category? Who do you think is going to win?
Um, I could honestly see, because last year they did give it to one of the British films for best casting. I believe last year was the first year they had best casting, if I recall. I might be wrong about that. So I could see it being Boiling Point. I'd say Boiling Point or West Side Story.
Mhm. All right,
Although they
you want
don't
to do
like
the
West
rest of
Side
these?
Story.
You want to do the rest of these tech ones?
Quick.
Like,
Yeah.
speed fire. Here we go.
Best cinematography: Dune, Nightmare Alley, No Time to Die, Power of the Dog, Tragedy Macbeth. No Time to Die, a little bit of a surprise there, but that is a very British film.
I was surprised it's not see West Side Story in here. I think
Yeah,
Nightmare Alley is becoming a more serious contender in this category, though I think Dune is running away with this award.
it's absolutely winning. Do you think West Side Story could be snubbed here because it also at the Oscars because it misses here and missed ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers. So
I
I
mean, I
still
think
think it gets in at Oscars, but it's not looking great.
you got to consider it as a possibility. It could also just be that this organization was a little down on West Side Story, where I think the Oscars will definitely give it a lot more praise.
I hope so. And yes, Dune, I would say, is winning. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Best costume design, we've got Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, The French Dispatch, Nightmare Alley. Nothing too surprising there. Any misses? No West Side Story. Once again, they didn't really like it. No House of Gucci.
No Hasafuchi, thank God. Cruella's winning. At least I hope
Yeah,
it is. It should.
it should.
Next category.
Agreed. Best film editing, we've got Belfast, Dune, Licorice Pizza, No Time to Die, and Summer of Soul. Got a documentary in here. Very interesting. I
Really
say
great choice.
Dune is winning. Yeah. I would say it's
Uh,
interesting to not see West Side Story or Power of the Dog here. but I don't
Yeah,
think that'll
those two are
carry over.
definitely interesting. I think those two will get in at the Academy Awards because the Academy Awards have had an issue with nominating docs in editing, even though they should. They're tremendous feats of editing. The same reason
Yeah.
why Solo should have been a Best Cinematography nomination its year, but
Mm-hmm.
again, it's the same thing with foreign language international feature. It's like they
Got a
just don't
bias.
look at it that way. Um, that being said, this category could go a bunch of different ways. I'm really waiting for the Ace Eddie Awards to help clarify this because I could see it going to Dune. I could see it going to Belfast. It's just, I don't know what type of editing that they're going to be in the mood for, both at the BAFTAs and the Oscars, to be awarded this year.
Yeah, I still lean towards the sound correlation. Whatever is winning sound oftentimes wins editing. So that's why I would say Dune here. In
Which
terms of
I think I agree with you. That's a very astute analysis, and I tend to lean that way as well.
in terms of Oscars, I think Belfast and Dune definitely carry over. Licorice Pizza, I mean, I think it's between, you've got Licorice Pizza, you've got West Side Story, you've got what are the other ones? You've got Power of the Dog, and you have Don't Look Up. I think it's still in contention. Do you think? Because I mean, it's very showy editing, and he got in for the past two films.
Yeah, I could see it happening, but at the same time, I could see a Licorice Pizza nom get in there the same way that Jojo Rabbit got in there. The comedy that's really well edited. So I'm going to wish fulfill and say that it's the not Don't Look Up. But again, this is the category that gave it to Bohemian fucking Rhapsody. So anything's possible.
Yeah, I could also see a Power of the Dog snub come Oscar time, but we'll get to those later when we do our final predictions. Best makeup and hair, we've got Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. That's a pretty consistent lineup. I'm trying to think of anything that could have missed. West Side Story, maybe.
No.
Yeah. In terms of winning,
See,
maybe
Jared Leto didn't get in, and neither did Jessica Chastain, which are the two biggest parts of the makeup of the two movies.
Yeah.
Dune, maybe, if they're really in the mood for Dune, but Denis didn't get nominated, which makes me surprising that. So I'm going to just stick with my Oscar prediction and say Tammy Faye, because I do think in terms of what the makeup is helping to tell the story, not only age her throughout, but there's so much of the personality and the identity of the character that's wrapped up in the makeup. It is a necessity in terms of that performance working. So I'm going to say Tammy Faye.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't like House of Gucci here, but I think the Jared Leto thing, I would lean House of Gucci, but I would say Tammy Faye's equally possible. Original score, Being the Ricardos, Don't Look Up, Dune, French Dispatch, Power of the Dog.
Really surprised to see Being the Ricardos in here. Yeah. That being said, I mean, it's Dune. Moving on.
It is, absolutely. Best production design, Cyrano, Dune, French Dispatch, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story. Nothing too surprising there. I don't think so. No Tragedy Macbeth, but Cyrano
took it. Which was bad to see, but Cyrano got in here, correct?
It did. That's what
I could see Cyrano missing and Tragedy Macbeth getting in and that being your 5.
Yeah, Cyrano did very well with the text, but somehow Dinklage still didn't get in. Interestingly,
yeah, which is telling.
But Dune
they obviously saw it. Dune here in the category by the way.
Yeah, I could maybe see West Side Story, but they didn't like it enough. Best Sound, A Quiet Place Part 2, which is very nice. Woo! Dune, Last Night in Soho, No Time to Die, and West Side Story. I think that's a very different lineup than what you'll see at the Oscars, probably. I would hope A Quiet Place Part 2 carries over.
I hope it happens. I think we nominated it for Sound.
We did.
For our categories. Ben somewhere is very happy.
Yes.
Yeah, Dune. Keep going.
That's winning, indeed. Visual effects, Dune, Free Guy, Ghostbusters Afterlife, The Matrix Resurrections, and No Time to Die. Also a little different from the Oscars. I don't see Free Guy or Ghostbusters carrying over, but Dune is winning.
I could still see Free Guy happening. Ghostbusters is not happening, and I think that will be your Marvel spot. And if Godzilla vs. Kong didn't get in here, correct?
It did not, no.
So that could be. I think, yeah, you're probably right. Free Guy and Ghostbusters miss. One of those is a Marvel movie. Which one it is we're still
up in the air.
Up in the air between Shang-Chi and Spider-Man. It's tough because you look at a scenario like Black Panther was like the bigger movie that year in terms of the attention, but Infinity War got the nomination over Black Panther. So I could see the same thing happening where Spider-Man is the movie we're all talking about, but Shang-Chi is the one that gets in there. And I do think Godzilla versus Kong is pretty
I
solidified. I
think
mean,
so.
if it was based on merit, it should be. That movie looks incredible for its visual effects. I mean, the whole movie is a
Agreed.
visual effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting. And No Time to Die, congrats, because that's the type of
Yeah.
like settle. I just rewatched it this past week, and there are so many like you don't realize visual effects, like invisible visual effects.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was able to mount this, like, it's going to be like, I think right, we have it for sound, we have it for visual effects,
Sound, VFX, song.
like,
That's probably it. I don't think it'll
and
get score.
maybe editing too, right? Did he get an editing nomination here?
I believe it did.
That's
Editing.
possible.
It did,
So,
yes.
congrats to that film, especially
Yeah.
it didn't do a digital release. It was all in theaters.
It was a big hit.
Made almost 800 million worldwide. Like that, Daniel Craig deserved a nice, great final outing.
He did. Best animated feature, only 4 here. Encanto, Flea, Luca, Mitchell's versus the Machines. I mean, those are, I would see those all getting the Oscars, and then Raya, pretty much. And then
Yeah,
Encanto's
plus Ryan, we're good.
Agreed. Documentary feature, Becoming, Cousteau, Cow, Flea, The Rescue, Summer of Soul. I'm kind of still lost with documentary in terms of what'll happen.
Here, I think it's
A big
Summer of
snub.
Soul with that film editing nomination shows that they really like the film. And I'm still predicting Summer of Soul overall. I know we sometimes think it's a little crazy with the doc category, but the trailer for Summer of Soul premiered during the Oscars last year. I think there is a lot of support for this movie. And it's also, once you watch it, it's such a riveting film to witness. I still think it's the front runner.
I would agree. I think that and Flea are the two, and Rescue probably are like the top 3. I could see Flea underperform. Yeah, I could see Flea underperforming come Oscar nomination morning.
Well, so do you think Flea's going to hit all 3 categories?
I think it'll probably miss at least one. I think it could miss animated because if you look at a lot of these animation separate branches in their nominations, they aren't really considering it as much. Like I've seen Sing 2 take a lot of its spots in a lot of these places. So I could see
Sing 2
I know.
took that nomination.
It'd be bad, but it wouldn't be like super surprising. Yeah. Best international feature, Drive My Car, The Hand of God, Parallel Mothers, Petite Maman, and Worst Person in the World. I wish we could see Petite Maman at some point in my life.
Where's Titan in this category?
Oh, yes, I totally missed that. I mean, it got a director. That's surprising.
What? And no A Hero, which is surprising, and no Flea, which is, it's just crazy, this category. I don't know what I mean. Maybe Parallel Mothers.
Drive My Car. I would say Drive My Car would probably win. Yeah.
And then Parallel Mothers and the screenplay noms. Yeah, Drive My Car definitely.
Yeah. And then lastly, best British film. We've got a few here. Afterlove, Ali and Ava, Belfast, Boiling Point, Cyrano, Everybody's Talking About Jamie, House of Gucci is a British film. Last Night in Soho, No Time to Die, and Passing. Probably Belfast, I would say.
Yeah, is this like how like when Roma and Parasite are in this category and Picture, you're kind of like, well, they have to win this category because they're the only ones who cross over? I would imagine Belfast.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And then there was a like best young performer that is for some reason not on this list.
That should be Woody Norman because he's nominated proper in Best Supporting
Yes, here it is. Rising Star Award. Woody Norman was not included, sadly.
What?
Interesting choices here. Some of these I would not consider rising stars. Millicent Simmons, Lashana Lynch, Ariana DeBose, Cody Smith-McPhee, and Harris Dickinson.
Cody Smith-McPhee was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes movies 8 years ago. What?
He was in like 3 X-Men movies too.
Also, Lashana Lynch, like,
Captain
is
Marvel?
But like Lashana Lynch, like, I guess Rising Star doesn't
need to be young, per se.
Yeah, and no offense, Lashana Lynch. I'm just like, it's an interesting interpretation.
And you would think with Millicent Simmons, she would be the Rising Star for the first A Quiet Place, not this one. Yeah, but I mean,
Lashana Lynch was incredible. She definitely rose as a star during No Time to Die. It's a very interesting category.
Do you think Ariana DeBose can win this and supporting, or do you think they'll be like, oh, we're giving her supporting, let's give it to, or Cody McPhee also?
Like that. I think they just vote what they like, and if they like her, and she could win.
Then it's probably DeBose versus McPhee then. because they're both big front runners.
Yeah, they both
Which
would
one's
win.
stronger?
I think.
It's a good case. I would say
I think
DeBose.
DeBose herself, she's out there more this season, which I think is the biggest asset to her campaign.
Yeah.
Her own, like Gaga, she is out there. What were the other people nominated in this category?
In this one, it was Millicent Simmons, Lashana Lynch, Ariana DeBose, Cody Smith McPhee, and Harris Dickinson, who I believe is the guy from
I
Kingsman.
wanted to say Harris Dickinson from The King's Man.
British.
Anytime I see him, he reminds me of you. So maybe
of me. Oh,
yes,
wow.
of you.
I don't know what he looks like, but I guess I'll take that as a compliment.
Let me say,
Harris
let me pull him
Dickinson.
up. I was like, I wanted to say something about one of the nominees because it was so distracting during The King's Man. I'll pull it up, and you can let us know in the comments if you agree.
Do a little.
Let me pull up a picture of him. Oh my God, these are all with his shirt off. We don't need that.
Harris.
Here.
I don't think he's gonna win.
Like, come on. It's like the British version of Jack.
Yeah. The British are always better looking. Yeah. I could see it maybe.
Yeah.
Totally possible. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the BAFTAs. Nothing else news-wise. Yeah. Any last words regarding the BAFTAs?
Again, be cautious in what you take from this in affecting your Oscar ballot in terms of what's getting nominated. Some things may indicate something like Best Actress. Others may not, like, something like, West Side Story not really getting in here at all. You just got to weigh it out.
Missing.
Yeah, you just got to weigh it out. But I think we'll be back to do our final Oscar predictions before Tuesday. And it's sure to be what a great time to have an award season podcast because man,
there's a lot.
This is not an easy year. It's very hard to predict what's happening.
I think a lot of it will be predictable though. I think if you stick with most people's top predictions, I think you'll probably do very well. I hope not though, because I like surprises.
It's funny. I think because the Golden Globes didn't have the same presence this year, and we're waiting on Critics' Choice, we're waiting on SAG. There's a lot of things up in the air, and SAG isn't always the most definite bellwether. No. So I think the fact that there are only real, televised industry award this year, it's definitely interesting to see.
It is tricky. In terms of winners, whoever wins at the BAFTAs is who I'm probably going to go with, but we're in the nomination phase still. So that's that. Yeah, so look out for our Oscar predictions. And then come Oscar nomination morning, look out for some reactions and probably further coverage of all that fun stuff. And thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.